So, every single day it seems that there is something in the news about a religious organization abusing its power by abusing kids or other people or financial abuses, you name it, it's happening. And I was listening recently to an episode, excuse me, of The Friendly Atheist, and he was talking about the Washington state law that was passed last term, and then it was fought by the DOJ and the Catholic Church because the special man in the special box with the special little robe on is allowed to keep abuse private as long as said abuse is reported to the special little man in the special robe in the special box. And I've been following this case for a while, how it kind of came to be, how much Noel Frame had tried, she was our state senator here, had tried in the past to get a softer law passed, and the Republicans wouldn't go for it. And when it failed, I think it was in the 23-24 term, right at the end of that term, their legislative session, there was more abuse cases that came out in Washington state that actually spurned some Republicans to wanting to do something in a bipartisan fashion. And at this point, Noel Frame was so pissed, as we all should be, that she said, fuck it, the gloves are off. Now there's going to be no special exception for the little man in the little box with the special robe, hearing people's confessions. And anything that's said in there that pertains to abuse, you are a mandatory reporter. You have to report it, right? Well, lo and behold, the Catholic Church that just loves women and children and the preborn so much, also doesn't seem to remember how to love abused children and want their rapists and abusers to be brought to justice. So, of course, the Catholic Church got mad when this passed. The DOJ stepped in, and in the end, the state caved, because obviously where we're at now is the Handmaid's Tale fascist America. The state caved and basically said, fine, if somebody reports abuse to the special little man in the special box wearing the special robe, he can keep that shit a fucking secret, and they're not mandatory to report because of that little special scenario. And I was watching Hemant Mehta, the Friendly Atheist guy, do his episode about this, and he had said that Noel Frame and Bob Ferguson were heroes. And I agree that Noel Frame is a hero, because her and so many other people, and the people that testified about, like Christiana De Leon, that put themselves out there with their stories, to just come back and to have this come back and then just be smacked down, because the loving, kind, and Catholic Church that cares about everybody so much and gets total deference and doesn't have to pay taxes doesn't seem to care if kids are abused, as long as they're protected by the little man in the little box, the little robe. And Bob Ferguson, he is a Catholic. And my question is, at what point in time, after 2,000 years of documented abuse, rape, theft, murder, torture, cultural genocide, stolen artifacts, like you fucking name it, the Vatican is the spoils of war. At what point in time do we stop giving deference? And at what point in time do, as a society, we snap the fuck out of it? Like Bob Ferguson, I would love it for me to consider you a hero. Do you know what you could do? You could publicly disassociate yourself from the Catholic Church. That doesn't mean that you don't, can't believe the tenets of what you were taught for yourself. But why continue to sit at the table with the people that fought against 100% transparency when it comes to children being abused? I don't understand. I don't understand it, because I was exposed to religion, but I was never overtly religious. And then I woke up out of that bullshit, and now I'm back to being how I was born, a non-believer, like we all are. Everybody is taught this shit. It is brought into our lives. Nobody's born thinking of this crap. Certainly, I would hope not, because of what happens around this world. There is no God worth a shit, or definitely not worth worshiping. So my question is, at one point in time, after all of the documented years of abuse, theft, rape, murder, and torture, do we have leaders? Because that's what it takes, right? Because people need to be led. Do we have leaders that publicly come out and say, I'm no longer towing the line for this. It should not be involved in our government. It should not get tax exemptions on any level whatsoever, which, by the way, Washingtonians, it's about $120 million of unpaid property taxes by religious institutions. And if you don't believe me, I can provide the evidence for you. I can show you the formula of how to go figure it out for yourself. And in fact, I contacted a Professor Ryan Cregan at the University of Tampa a few years ago after I watched a Freedom from Religion Foundation episode about taxing church properties and how much it would be a benefit to society. And the only reason so many of these churches stay afloat is because their contribution that they don't pay into the system is subsidized by the taxpayer. They don't have to pay anything, right? And some people it's just like they're just like Walmart, except worse. They don't pay. They expect everybody to volunteer all of their shit. And in the end, they get to make money. They get to drive people on our roads and bring them to their establishments to make tax-free dollars and not have to pay for any of the infrastructure. Think of it as 100 people and we have a $100,000 project, right? Well, what if 25% of those people owned properties that didn't pay property taxes and you need new bridges and roads and schools? You just reduced your funding by 25%, where the rest, the 75%, has to pick the tab up. Do you see where this is a problem? And that's just property taxes. Like I was just reading that down in Skamania County, they're going to have to close the fish hatchery because they don't have enough money to keep it open. And of course, like everything else that's a benefit to society, it keeps on getting underfunded. Well, guess what? That's only like I think it was like 1.4, 1.9, whatever million dollars that they needed. Which, when you're operating on a razor-thin budget, it's, if you don't have it, you don't have it, right? So they're going to have to close this hatchery down for like the first time ever, because make America great again. But imagine if, that's only 1.4 out of that $120 million. We just had our fucking Fred Meyer close down here on Evergreen Way and move out in one of the poorest neighborhoods in this fucking city. I know what I would do with $120 million. What would you do with $120 million? I would be punch fucking drunk happy to take care of my neighbors. I would not want to keep any of that money for myself, except maybe, I don't know, I'd say 30 grand in the event that I need a new car. That'd be nice. But honestly, I wouldn't do that. Why would I need to? I don't need to because I have a car. I'm just saying it'd be nice. What would you do with $120 million? How would you take care of your neighbors? I guarantee you, those people down on Casino Road, I would make sure, you little shit, get out of here. I would make sure that they were taken care of for that much money. It's not like the Catholic Church can't afford it. They're the largest land baron in the world. The Mormon Church is the second largest, with them being the first largest land baron in the United States. And I mean land baron from the standpoint of they're a non-governmental organization, right? We're not talking about like countries here. I'm talking about ownership of property by someone who is not a country. So yeah, why do we give them deference? They're an abusive, horribly abusive organization that doesn't care about protecting children. And when are people in positions of power going to stand up and say, we're no longer giving deference to this in society in any way? It does not have a place in our politics. It does not have a place in our judiciary. It just doesn't. It's a personal belief system. Personal. Not out in the public square. Your beliefs end where your fucking toes do. Believe everything you want, but leave the rest of us out of it and give us our fucking tax dollars, because you make tax-free dollars off of my tax dollars keeping up this shit, and everybody's mad about paying taxes, but nobody looks at the bullshit. Nobody looks at how much money is wasted on religion, and I'm saying it's time that we get politicians to fucking stand up and do something about this. I have made several aware in this state of taxing church properties, and even as a progressive blue state, they're fucking afraid. That's the problem. Happy Sunday.